Let's talk about intermittent fasting. I'm going to talk about it because it's a question that I've been getting a lot from clients recently. I honestly don't follow diet trends. I never really know what's popular at the time until, I start getting a lot of questions about it. Clients come to me and they're like, "What do you think about so and so?" And a couple of years ago, keto was all hot. Now it seems that intermittent fasting, also known IF, is kind of the popular thing now. And my answer to these questions is always like, well, it could be good. Most people don't need to go on these diets. But as far as intermittent fasting specifically, if you don't know, it's basically just fasting is obviously going a prolonged period of time without eating or even consuming any caloric drinks. Intermittent fasting is just choosing maybe a method of when you're fasting. So the most popular ones are going a whole day without eating, a full 24-hour period, and then maybe eating for a few days, then going another 24-hour period. Probably the most common one that people seem to be into is what's called doing a feeding window. So basically you'll pick usually 6 hours out of the day where you'll eat. That's going to be your feeding window. Usually we'll say noon to 6 is kind of a common time. So between noon and 6, people can eat and drink caloric beverages during that time. Outside of that window, from 6 p.m. until noon, you're not eating or drinking anything. Outside, maybe water or tea or something like, or coffee if it's black with nothing in it. And there's really no magic behind this. It's just a way of eating, consuming fewer calories than you're used to, and probably fewer calories than your body is burning. So there's no metabolic magic that's going on. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are selling intermittent fasting diets saying it's the cure-all for everything from diabetes to cancer, but that's really not been shown in any research. And I know there is some people that are touting IF and they like to point to research, but what most people need to realize when it comes to these research articles or the research that people are pointing to is often done on mice. Very rarely is it done on people, and even if it is done on people, and again, this is extremely rare, there's usually all kinds of problems as far as the methods that are done. It's just one study that's been performed that hasn't been repeated, so we don't know if the study was done right. So nutrition science is kind of all over the map. And but intermittent fasting is something that I think can be useful for some people. But the caveat is, if you're not already well versed in fundamentals of eating well, fundamentals of nutrition, I wouldn't waste my time with it. If you don't really understand what a carbohydrate is, what a protein is, what kind of foods contain carbohydrates, how much protein should you be eating for your body type and what you're trying to accomplish, do you even understand your own physical cues, like what does hunger really feel like? These are things that a person, I think, has to understand before they start experimenting with diets. Intermittent fasting, I think, is probably one of the easier ones to manage. Honestly, when everybody was asking me about keto a couple of years ago, I was not a fan, still not a fan. I think it's way too restrictive for most people, and it's unnecessarily restrictive. Intermittent fasting, I think, can be done a little bit better and with not quite as much stress. But again, if you don't understand the fundamentals of nutrition, it's still going to be probably another merry-go-round where you'll do it for a couple of months, you'll hop off, and then you'll hop on another diet. So the real problem I see with all these diets is consistency. Intermittent fasting can work for people if you stick to it long term. Keto can work for people if you stick to it long term. Whatever diet you want to pull, whatever diet book off the shelf you want, those things can work for people long term. The problem is the people that are most likely to jump on these diets are the ones that have probably tried dozens of ones before, because they're not the type to stick to something consistently. And that's why I say if you don't understand the fundamentals of nutrition, learn that first. Understand the difference between true physical hunger and boredom hunger. Even if you're a little hungry, it doesn't mean you have to just, ring the emergency bell and go feed yourself that moment. If you're trying to lose weight, like a lot of people are, just be a little uncomfortable. Be okay with being hungry. It's not something that if you're a little hungry, nothing bad is going to happen to you. That's where I think intermittent fasting can be helpful, because it'll teach people that you don't have to address being hungry right away. You can actually learn to be hungry, deal with it, not let it be a thing that you have to immediately act upon. But again, if you're not understanding the basics of nutrition, you're probably not paying attention to those physical cues, so you're missing a big piece of the puzzle. So I guess my conclusion is intermittent fasting good? Sure, for some people. Most people don't need it. I myself have experimented with it. I tried the 1-day 24-hour fast just to see how I felt, how I operated on it. I'm okay, but I've been eating pretty much the same way for decades. Understand your own physical cues when it comes to appetite and hunger. Learn the basics of nutrition, and you'll probably never have to pick up a diet book or try to learn whatever new fad diet is popular again. But unfortunately, I don't think most people will do that. But consistency is the most important factor with whatever diet plan you're trying to pick up. So if you're not able to be consistent with something, no diet is going to work. But that's it for now. Take care, y'all.